In the novel Gravebirds, I was researching paranormal gifts and how to expand your paranormal gift. And in the comment section of this blog, there was a man who commented and he said, "What does it mean when you see people and everybody has a bird?" And I was like, "What? That's kind of crazy." So I just put that in a document like, okay, there's a story there. I don't know what it is. Well, fast forward about 3 or 4 years later, I'm looking for story ideas through my file. I have like this really long file. And I was like, what does that mean? And so in my book, the character Kane Landry, he comes into town, but so what I thought, what if these birds represented the dead's unresolved issues? And what if a human, Kane Landry, comes into town and he's alive? And what if he has one of these birds on his shoulder? Now, what does that mean? And what if my main character, what if she sees these birds? And how can she see them? And how does she get this gift, you know? And so I was like, well, if she's died once before and brought back to life, now she has a connection to the dead in this unusual way. So that is where the idea started forming and coming together. And then I just I'm a pantser. I jumped in, I dove in, and I just started writing. Everybody who knows me on the internet knows I'm a bird nerd. I have over 400 feathers in my collection. I sometimes lay them out by species, and then lay them in order of where they are on the body. I'm like a huge nerd. And so I just love birds. I do think they're messengers. I've had family and friends, talk about. I have a dear friend of mine, her child passed away. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this little bird kept coming. And no matter where she goes, she would see like the same little bird, land in front of her on the ground. And I was like, that's your child. That's your child coming to say hello. Like so I believe birds do have a spiritualness. I believe in, I do believe they have a symbolism. And so I just took that belief and that passion and put it in these birds. And I thought, okay, everybody's going to have a bird. Like, as much as I love a barn owl, and that would be like, oh, I'd want that to be my grave bird. I know I would get something like a goose or something like that, something. So you don't always get what you think you should, but I think that means something. And so throughout the book, I would give different characters, different birds, and I would just base it off on the personality of the bird and the personality of the person it represented. Without giving too much of the story away, the main character, the love interest, I guess you would say, who eventually becomes a love interest, he has a bird. And so for him, she's trying to figure out, why does this man who's alive, why does he have a bird? These are only associated with dead people. So what's going on with him? There was a character. So when I first started doing it, there's a character named Grady Owens. And I was just trying to write a scene, and it was a side scene. And I was trying to write a side scene about this bird that she found in the middle of the woods. And he was tied to a grave. And it was an old man who was like a hermit crab who lived on the land. And that was his land. He refused to sell it, and he hated people. And so that was like his character. And I thought, why is this man so broken? Like, what broke him? And I'm like, the one thing that can just truly wreck a person is to lose the love of their life. And so he loses his love of his life, and it just makes him this broken man forever. And so each character, there's another character that's associated with a little girl. And then um there's as a mother, there's a mother that you'll eventually meet in the book, and she has a dove. And I just think of doves as the most caring. They love who they love forever. If their mate dies, they don't mate with anyone else. So, and they're just such a beautiful, quiet creature, but they have strength in their quietness. And I just like, okay, that was perfect for the mom. Of course, I had to put a crow in there because of my last book. So I had to put a crow in there. And then there's a cardinal, which are more elusive. So I each one I wanted to give a personality to, so when you see their unresolved issue, you can see their personality come through, or hopefully that's how it translated to the page. I didn't want it to be easy. I didn't want it to be like, and I don't think it's this way in life. When a ghost comes to you, they don't tell you, hey, the person murdered me, go to the police. Like, like they don't sell you that. So I'm like, okay, so you have to commune. And so I'm like, I made these birds the dead's unresolved issues. And I feel like instead of the dead just communicating that to them, they can only show them the moment in time that they regret, that they, so they are shown that moment and she's shown that moment. So now she's got to figure out, what do I do with that? What does that mean? And what do I do with that? And so that's how the world that I built it. There's other ways that ghosts can communicate with you. They can lead you to places, whatever. But and sometimes once you connect with them, they start to haunt you, as you'll see in the book early on, like something starts to haunt her. And so she's finally like, I also believe from all the shows that I watch and everything, the dead will not leave you alone. They will not be ignored. They will continue until you do something to help them or to listen to them or something. And so I felt like this was, this man coming into town, and then all of a sudden these ghosts won't leave her alone. There's some connection there. And that's what she's trying to figure out. Even though I live in California, I have like a group of girls, and every year we go on a trip. And one year we went to Louisiana, and we went to the cemetery and did a cemetery tour, and we did like the dowsing rods. I was floored. I mean, I have chills thinking about it. Like, we would ask a question and I would say, make the rods go to the right. I have a video of this. I should post it on the internet, but and it said, make the go, right is yes, left is no. And so we would ask it questions, and it would be shocking. Like, I'm just holding it and it would go one way or the other. It's really crazy. Or I would say like, "Hey, which lady is Kat?" My girlfriend's name is Kat and the other one's Jackie, and then it would go to Kat. I just found that so spooky. And when you leave, you're supposed to turn around backwards out of the cemetery and walk backwards out of the cemetery so you don't take the ghost with you. And one of our friends refused to do that, and I marched her right back over there. I'm like, "We are not bringing a ghost home with us." And then I think also growing up, we would drive by cemeteries, especially in the teenage years. And there was like this particular cemetery near my dad's home, and on the grave was this old picture. It was like early 1900s, and if you drove by, you would see glowing eyes on that, and it would be like on that grave. And I don't know, it just give me the heebie-jeebies. So I just feel like there's a lot of dead that roam around stuck at that grave, and that's where I got that, in the prologue, that's where I come up with that vision. You see all these empty graves and you look around, and, we just look around and we see stones, but I'm like, I think their spirits are there looking at us.